Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today I want to discuss an incredibly powerful technique to tune into your subconscious mind and also the universal subconscious mind. There is a cosmic intelligence that is available to all of us that we are constantly trying to access and utilize in the process of reality creation in our spiritual explorations. We have discussed so many different facets of reprogramming the subconscious mind, accessing the subconscious. We've utilized sleep meditations that use different techniques to speak to the subconscious mind. We are taught by Neville Goddard and Joseph Murphy and several other major teachers that the sweet spot for us to manifest our reality is through our subconscious mind. In a recent interview with RJ Spina, he mentioned that 95% of manifestation and reality creation is coming from the subconscious. So all that stuff we are doing in our conscious states is only making up 5% for us to really access the power that is available to us. We must truly begin to communicate with our subconscious mind. This subconscious mind carries the intelligence of the higher self, and there are some very powerful ways for us to do that. We've briefly explored these techniques in several episodes, but I wanted to dedicate an episode on muscle testing. Muscle testing and what some people call applied kinesiology has many actual medical benefits. And in particular, when you have a certain state of mind and you're tuned in spiritually, you're able to turn your body on in a certain way, you can begin to communicate with your body. There are ways for you to access your subconscious intelligence in your body. And I'm going to give you some different techniques and sort of talk about the things that I've understood. But this is a precious process that we are undergoing. We are beginning to commune with our higher selves with just basic knowledge of understanding that the thing that's beating our heart and making us breathe is always awake and all-knowing. It knows the future and the past. It is accessing and a part of the Akashic record. Your body carries infinite wisdom from thousands of incarnations, and you have a specialized, unique skill and power available in just your subconscious mind and higher self. But how do we access this wisdom? We've tried to meditate. We've gone into meditation and sitting in the silence. Oftentimes we can hear the still small voice of our subconscious and higher self. But there are very specific ways of muscle testing and utilizing the reactions, particularly instantaneous reactions of the body, that we can begin to use that are a direct phone line to the subconscious mind. When you can do this, amazing changes can happen. And eventually, you can start utilizing these techniques to answer questions about other people's bodies and lives. This technique is just in its infancy, and we're only beginning to understand its nature. There have been some tests done, and in the medical community, they've sort of ignored it and denied it and claimed that the tests were not indicative of any particular effect. And that's because, once again, the scientific community ignores the spiritual component of this particular behavior. This particular exercise that we're talking about, you can do while in the proper state of mind with a spiritual connection, and that is probably missing from a lot of different medical studies that have been done on applied kinesiology. But before I embark on this journey, let us verify the words and energy of this episode. Let us see if these words that I am saying to you are indeed helpful, clear, and true to your heart. You can do this with anything that you hear, read, or see. And if my words ring true and feel good to you, then let's embark on this journey for a few minutes of this podcast. However, if not, it's for another time perhaps. Just forget about it. Let us find out. I want you to spend a moment with this episode. Maybe you're listening to it on a phone or a computer. In your field of vision. Notice how you feel inside. Take a moment. Are you drawn towards it like a magnet? Or do you feel repelled by it? In other words, do you feel yourself moving towards it or away from it energetically? Do my words travel easily into your ears and swim down to touch your heart? Or are they jagged and hard to follow? Well, if you're moving towards it and these words flow into you with ease, then yes, let's take this journey together. And this is an example of how muscle testing works. It's a spiritual connection that you are making to the words and your environment. So you learn how to feel whether you're resonating with something or you're repelled by it. I will go into more details as to what all this means. I just want to get started on the right foot and give you an example of how this works. We will be looking, feeling, and sensing into ways that will help us unlock the gateway to our subconscious minds, which leads to clarity and truth. As we travel through my words, I want you to check with yourself every now and then and ask, does this feel true? If we can practice this within this short podcast, it will be much easier to take that practice into your daily life. One of the goals of this podcast is that we want life to become much clearer, and you have the ability to create and choose your own reality. So what we need to do is find information that we can really use, that is applicable and not just all talk, that is clear and obvious as to what is true and what is literally nonsense. The sooner we can detect its true and nonsense quality, the better we can navigate and move onwards with much more energy, ease, and grace toward the things we want. So if you're still here with me and you feel some truth in my words, then let's begin with that. Imagine if you could ask any question imaginable and receive an answer directly from the universe itself. Imagine if you could know in an instant whether something was true or not true. How much time and energy would we save by not having to try and work it out? Or what if we could just know and be done with it? How much more space, ease, and fun could things be when the right conditions are present and when the question being asked is without bias? Yes, you can ask the universe anything. Just picture for a moment the universe as a giant electromagnetic field that contains all information and knowledge of all time, complete and unending. It is made up of light, magnetism, pure vibration, frequency, energy, and a host of other elements we still do not yet understand on the mental level. It is like a very complex nervous system for the entire universe. Imagine that this giant electromagnetic field is also intelligent beyond measure and fully self-aware. This super intelligent giant electromagnetic field is actually the field of consciousness itself, a super consciousness. And what if I was to say that you can have a personal relationship with this field of consciousness, to develop a friendship with this consciousness and be able to access all the information contained within it whenever you felt inspired to do so. Yet, what if I was to also say that not everyone can access this field of information because not everyone is switched on to this level of awareness or has established a relationship with this field of consciousness? I don't claim this is any sort of great secret. I don't claim any singular method or unique or new understanding. All I'm saying here is that I have uncovered from my research an easy way to confirm what the mysteries have been saying all along. The great teachers speak of things so far beyond the common level of consciousness that it is hard to understand and apply to one's everyday life. What I outline in this episode is a simple method, a set of techniques that helps us to switch on and helps us to establish an open communication channel with the field of consciousness where we can confirm certain truths for ourselves. The confirmation of certain truths will help us navigate through the trials of life for the benefit of oneself and ultimately for the benefit of all beings. I was originally moved to do this episode because I see so many people stumbling in the dark, stumbling through their life with so much uncertainty and doubt in their minds. I had come upon this originally by reading the work of Bradley Nelson and some other authors and started just to test it. I tested this on decisions I had to make for my business, on decisions I had to make in relationships. I tested this for a variety of things, foods that I would eat, TV shows that I would watch. It started to become very fun just to move and test in with what my subconscious was saying. I found that it is an art, and I'm still learning the different various subtleties of this art. Aside from this field of consciousness, our bodies are incredibly intelligent. They're connected directly to this intelligence. It is now widely understood that we use very little of our total brain's capacity. Our conscious mind is actually very limited. It can only do so much without getting sidetracked. Just try meditating for a few minutes. Within a few seconds, most people will find their mind wandering to something else. Our conscious mind is only about 5% of our total intelligence. Scientists are now suggesting that it might even be less than that. The much greater part of your brain power lies within the subconscious mind. It's a human computer. It's active all the time and actually records everything that you experience, every face you've ever seen, every beautiful thing in nature, every smell, every song, every sound, every memory. It also stores every illness, every injury, every thought and feeling, every painful moment. The entire history of every cell in your body is archived in the subconscious mind. Your subconscious knows everything your body needs to achieve better health and balance, but most people don't know how to tap into this knowledge and imagine if we had the access to that other 95, 96%. Muscle testing is designed to bring subconscious information into conscious awareness. What if you could easily find out exactly what you needed in order to do better or feel better? Can you imagine what the potential impact would be on your emotional and physical well-being? Muscle testing allows us to access all of this. So what exactly is muscle testing? Also known as applied kinesiology. Since the early 1900s, physicians and osteopaths have been studying how the state of our muscles can reveal a whole host of things. Within and surrounding the body is an intricate electrical network of pure energy. Because energy runs through the muscles in your body, if anything impacts your electrical system that does not maintain or enhance your body's balance, your muscles will virtually short circuit or weaken. Don't worry, it's only temporary. Things that might have an impact on your electrical system are thoughts and emotions, foods, toxins, other substances, and numerous imbalances. Using your muscles, we can discover what weakens or strengthens your body. This process is called applied kinesiology, or more commonly referred to as muscle testing. Muscle testing taps in to the subconscious mind, which allows us to answer questions about our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. It's a non-invasive method designed to determine the potential underlying causes of physical and emotional issues. It's simply a really cool way we can ask your body questions and get clear answers, like a direct line to the subconscious mind. There are a number of different, quick, and effective muscle testing techniques. There are 3 techniques that I've found to be most effective, and at the end, I will also give a lottery number technique that has huge potential once we become really tuned in to the intelligence of our body. The first technique is the sway technique. The 0.1% that the sway test doesn't seem to work, I've found to be mostly experienced in older individuals whose bodies tend to be really stiff and have been for a long period of time. The stiffness is due to ongoing illness, recent surgeries, pains in the body, prolonged periods of immobility, or just sheer laziness. The stiffening of the tissues seems to impede the ability of the energy to flow and move easily through the system, therefore distorting the ability to sense the sway. There's also a small percentage that respond the opposite of most people, meaning the leaning backwards is indicative of something different than most other people. So everything I'm saying is not 100% absolute, and you'll have to test it for yourself. But overall, this is probably the most popular and effective version of this technique. The sway testing method is the easiest way to get started and develop our sensitivities to our energy field and the asking and receiving process. I want to emphasize that the sway testing method itself is just a tool and is therefore just a means to an end. Let's go through and explain the sway testing method, and you can get familiar with it, and then I can explain how it works. The yes and no test is a test that I recommend everyone do at the beginning to help them get a sense of what the answers feel as they send a wave of energy throughout the body. For there is a definitive wave of energy, when you get really good at this, that moves through the body whenever we say yes or no all the time. We just don't notice it subtly. To get a clear sense of it and notice it more easily, it helps to stand up into a natural position and relax the body. So stand up with your feet shoulder width apart, knees not locked in, just off lock, shoulders and arms relaxed. You should be standing in a neutral, relaxed position. Now first you want to test yes. We do this by saying the word out loud repeatedly. Yes, 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 and applying our attention to the word and the vibration of the word. Then notice and observe what happens to the body as you're standing there. There will be a natural swaying motion. Which way does it sway? If everything is working properly, the body will sway forward when you say yes. Next, you want to test no. You do this by saying this out loud repeatedly. No, no, no. And applying our attention to the word and the vibration of the word. Again, the body will want to sway in a particular direction. In some cases, it's right to left. In most cases, it's back and forth. And 99% of the time, you're leaning backwards when you say no. You're backing away from it. The natural instinct is to move away from this. When we feel the wave of energy move through us, yes being forward and no being backward, and as it becomes more and more obvious, then it's time to move to the next test. The next test is the true and false statement test. This test I would recommend before moving into any big questions. This is a way to experience for ourselves whenever we lie or say something that is not true to our hearts, which will cause us to move backward. However, when we tell the truth and say things that support our heart, we will always move forward towards it. It's like a polygraph test. First, we want to test the truth. We do this by saying, my name is, and in my case, I'd say, my name is Brian. I'd say that out loud repeatedly and focusing my attention on the word and the vibration of the word. You say your name. So you say, my name is John or Bill or Sally or whatever. You say your actual name. Notice and observe what happens to the body. There will be a natural swaying motion. Which way does it sway? Sometimes it's very subtle, but you will sway. If everything is working properly, the body will sway forward. Next, you want to test a lie. You can do this by saying, my name is, and then you say a false name. So I might say, my name is John. Out loud, repeatedly, and focusing my attention on the word and the vibration. Again, the body will want to sway in a particular direction. Which way does it sway? If everything is working properly, it will sway backward. You can try different questions if you like to test it out for yourself. It is best to stick to simple questions here at the very beginning, as we need to train ourselves to get used to the feeling and sensitivity of the responses. The more you do this, the better you get at it. The bigger questions can come later when we have established a clear question and a response from the field. You can try different questions if you like to test it out for yourself. It is best to stick to simple questions, and at the very beginning of each session, you need to train yourself to get used to the feeling and sensitivity of the responses. One practice that can help you become more sensitive is meditation. doing this after meditating or during a meditation, you can find that you're more tuned into this energy. It also helps to be grounded. Sometimes I like to walk outside in my lawn in bare feet. It's a practice that can help tune me in and get me grounded and clear. I've also tried to tell myself I'm grounded, I'm integrated, I am centered, I have permission to ask. Asking for permission is a good idea generally before getting into some of the heavy questions. Sometimes, rarely, it may not be necessary or beneficial for us to know the answer to the question we seek, or it simply may not be the right time to know. Therefore, we may get a sway backward to ask permission. Whenever we get this response, let it go and move on. So you can test whether you're grounded. You say, I am grounded, and then see if you sway forward or back. You'll know the truth of it. You can say, I am integrated. You'll know if you're integrated. You can say, I am centered, and then you can ask if you have permission to ask by saying, I have permission to ask, and see if you lean forward or lean backwards. Doing that really does help. There are some required conditions for this to be effective, and that's why the studies are not accurate, because they're not bringing in this meditative spiritual component. I would say that first of all, you have to be spiritually oriented. You need to be sincere with integrity. Integrity comes out of valuing life and supporting it in any form it's expressed. I think those that are service to others tend to be more tuned into their bodies and will have greater success with this. It involves feeling into and establishing a value system that is based on virtue. You respect life. I'd say that your questions are not biased. If you carry deep biases behind the question, maybe it's political for you and you already know what you're going to think, and then you start asking, your body will sway because your conscious mind will take over and push you towards whatever you think the answer should be. There are times we can eliminate bias by going into meditation prior and sort of letting go of our attachment to our thoughts, attempting to dissolve the identity and to move into the neutral observer. This neutrality helps to give us a greater level of connection. As we have discussed with remote viewing, remote viewers are always accurate when they're viewing something that they have no specific connection to. If they were going to check out their mother and they knew they were checking out their mother, they would already have preconceived notions about it and they bring it into the process. I would say the fourth important component is that you're not in a low energy environment. There's energy vampires around you, or it's a low vibration situation. It's much harder to tune into the intelligence of your body and mind in those particular situations. And many of the different books that are written about applied kinesiology, including You Can Ask the Universe Everything, The Cranial Relaxation Technique, The Art of Self-Muscle Testing by Michael Harrington, those books in particular really emphasize being turned on. You reach a particular point of consciousness when you can turn on the protocol for receiving information from your subconscious mind. So there are some conditions that you must go through to turn on. It is going to be specific to you and only you. But you can ask the universe everything. You get better and better at this. You check yourself, you stand in the neutral posture, you make sure you're in the right frame of mind, and you start to ask some very interesting questions. You can learn things about your future and your past. You can ask things about the universe, and you will get incredible answers and tune in to the truth of it. Just like with the I Ching, I would say to keep your questions short and clear so that you don't confuse yourself or the field that you're interacting with. If you get distracted or start thinking about something else, the energy will shift to the new object of attention. Therefore, if you get distracted, just start the process again. If it's unclear, repeat the question several times. Observe to see if the body moves forward or backward, tuning into what you know that means. So usually forward means yes and backward means no. So some examples of some questions you can ask. Is this episode close to the truth? Does this practice bring me closer to the truth? Is this movie, book, or information close to the truth? Will this food help me? You can ask about political parties. This political party is close to the truth? Or democracy is close to the truth? You can ask about other life forms. Is it necessary to know if extraterrestrials exist? You can say, do extraterrestrials exist? Are all extraterrestrials the same? Can humans survive on other planets? You can ask about events in history. Is it true that blank happened in history? The next economic crisis will occur in 5 years, and you can be specific. There is a solution to global warming. Ask the question. You can ask spiritual questions like, does God exist? Am I on the path of my highest good? Is everyone destined for enlightenment? Does enlightenment exist? So, the sway technique is the primary technique, but there's some other additional techniques that some people find to be effective. Your muscles become strengthened when you're in a truthful mode. In a very short response, the strength does come back. But if you were to put your arm in front of you and place your other hand over your arm and push down with one hand and lift the arm with another and ask a question, you'll notice the strength of it. So if you get a false answer, then you're able to push down the arm and it doesn't come up. But if it is a correct answer, it will come up. You can also place your thumb and forefinger interlocking with your other thumb and forefinger and pull them apart. And if you have the strength, if it's correct, then you can pull them through. And you're just testing the strength of your muscle. So you can think of other things, but your muscle will carry that initial strength when you are in a truthful mode. Now remember, in the future, there's nothing in the future that's absolutely certain. There are only probabilities based on trajectories of energy flow. So the better you get at this, you're tuning into the probabilities. When you get contradictory answers, break them down into percentages. Analyze them. You may find in the contradiction some clear evidence. If two things seemingly contradict, maybe there is between that some truth that you can uncover. The heart is a navigation compass. You can also, on a very advanced level, tune into your heart and notice the way that your heart acts when you ask questions, when you ask for truth. You can actually see the difference in the way your heart beats and feels. Perhaps it tightens or moves quickly when you ask truthful questions as opposed to other opposite untruthful statements, and you get a response from the heart. And people that are really good at this will really tune into an even greater level of intelligence than just muscle testing. For many, they will notice a tightness or restriction or uncomfortableness in their chest area when they are addressed with negative things that are not truthful, things that they are resisting or going against, and then you can understand the truth of something by that tightness in your chest. This doesn't work for everybody, but I have found it to be particularly a powerful thing. You are establishing a relationship with the field of consciousness that has the answer to all things, and it is very powerful. And I recommend that you go through a process of really asking questions. The more you do this, the better you will be at it, and you can directly tune into what the right decision is to make. You can do this when you decide to make purchases. I've done this in the store, and I ask myself a quick question. Should I purchase this? And I lean back, and then I put the item right back on the shelf. Or I lean forward saying, oh, this is going to be something that's going to help me out. I've done it with food. I've done it with music that I'm listening to and movies that I'm going to watch. I've even tested it with things I'm going to say. It's amazing the level of intelligence and the number of times that it's been correct for me when I've utilized this technique. There's one very advanced technique that I want to share with you that you can utilize for getting lottery numbers. There is a spiritual practitioner on Twitter that shared this technique, so I used it a couple times and I had several matching numbers, And so I'll be interested to see how we do with this technique. So you focus in on a lottery that you want to get the numbers for. Maybe it's the Mega Millions or the Powerball or something that's local to you. Maybe it's a 3 number, 5 number, 6 number, whatever. Knowing the rules and the number sequences that are available to you, you then lay your hands out, facing upwards as you sit. You can lay your hands on your legs and you close your eyes. You tune in to that lottery that's coming up, whatever it is. And then you ask for the first number, and your fingers will move in and out, and you can determine the numbers by using both of your hands on one hand or the other. Sometimes you'll move them twice, which will be the number. Maybe it's just once. You'll develop a system, in some cases, to go up to 69 numbers. You can establish that system. And your fingers start to move, giving you the number sequence that is available. Everybody's a little bit different. In some cases, you'll actually have the number come to you in your mind, or you'll feel a certain affinity to a number that comes to your mind. But you just sit and you notice your fingers moving up and down as you ask what the numbers will be. And you say, what's the first number? And maybe you have 3 fingers sticking out on your left hand and everything else is a fist. So that means that there's a 3 in that first number. You ask, is there a second number to this? And if nothing else comes, you just put 03. Or if you ask if there's a second number and then there's a 6, it would be 36 for that first number. You write down the sequence of numbers and then give it a shot. When you bring it in, just buy 1 ticket to give true faith to the power of your subconscious mind. Or if you do it twice, just buy 2. If you're doing it twice and you have 2 different sequences of numbers, then you're just doing it. It should be the actual number. So test it out. Costs $2 to test out. And see if you can get any sequence of the numbers by asking your subconscious mind and listening to the body and the initial response as it communicates through your body. As you get better and better at this, you can ask your higher self very specific and powerful questions that become much more complicated. And it moves beyond just the swaying of the body. As you've tuned into this intelligence, it moves directly into your mind, and you will begin to visualize and see images. And that is how I began to really have a connection with my higher self. I can ask yes or no questions, and there's no leaning involved. I know by the entire shift in my energy field. Ultimately, that will be how this ends up, and you will have an intuitive knowing because of your connection to that field. So please share your stories, whether they're success stories or if it never worked for you. And the more and more we can share this and communicate with each other, we can understand what works, what doesn't work, and the power of using your body to communicate with your subconscious mind. You can find all episodes of the Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. And welcome to the Reality Revolution.